Hey everyone and welcome. We are Next Level Business Advisors and this is Business Stories of Success. If you want to break through and achieve your own business success by learning from other successful business owners, you're in the right channel. For more of our content, make sure you click subscribe and don't forget the bell icon so you're the first to be notified when new videos are added. Enjoy today's video.
Hello, hello, hello. You're with Marc Adams at Next Level Business Advisors, and we're here with Bob Hunter from mybusinesscredit.com. He gives us business credit, and that's going to be powerful for you. We'll talk a little bit more about that, and I'm excited to talk about your journey and who you are. So let's just jump in if you don't mind. Sir, you have the
Thanks
floor.
for
Who
having
are
me.
you? Tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, I am Bob Hunter. I am the guy in charge of mybusinesscredit.com, and our our role basically is to keep people from becoming part of that statistic where 90% of all new business owners, well, over 90% of all new business owners end up failing in that first 5 years because they don't have enough money, quite frankly. So our job is to kind of help people get access to the money that they need to grow, to hire, to develop new products, and just succeed overall.
Okay, I like that. It's very succinct. Now, this is to me, for me, a bit new. What you do. So if you
Right?
don't mind, when I have
Yeah.
something new, I want you to give me just a little bit more about like what that means. If I'm a business owner and I come to you, what do you do for me? How do you help me?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little story about myself. When I started my business, it was because I had a good job and ended up losing my job due to a medical accident. Just kind of jumped right in, like many business owners do, as a reaction to losing my job. So started a business, and I had some idea of what I was doing. The part that I was missing is the administrative part. So it's all fine and dandy to focus on developing great products and services and making sure that you're providing great customer service and that you're building a great team. But the business administrative stuff still matters. And so people often forget the basics, like making sure your business is properly registered, making sure that you are keeping your bank accounts structured in a way that is attractive to banks and other little fine details. So what we do is we kind of help people avoid being like I was, operating in ignorance, where you don't know these things until it's too late, and you're looking for money, and no one's willing to give it to you because you're not structured and you're not set up properly. So our goal is to educate and provide access to money.
Oh, wow. I like that. Educate and
Yeah,
provide access to money. Um, so you
yeah, of
mentioned something in that story, and I don't mind. I hope you don't mind if I dive into that. You said you started a business
course.
and you weren't that wasn't the business, mybusinesscredit.com. So you have started another business. And
No.
in case you're looking at this, ladies and gentlemen, you notice it says Oxford Pearpoint. He doesn't have one business,
Mhm.
he has multiple businesses. So we're looking at a true entrepreneur. But if you don't mind, just diving into that for us.
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly how that happened. So Oxford started as just a development firm where it was almost like talking to a doctor for your business. So you might go to the doctor, you say, Doctor, I've got these symptoms. This is what's going on. The doctor's job is to know enough about their subject matter to be able to tell you what exactly the problem is and then
Mhm.
provide you with solutions, or in the doctor's case, a prescription. That is how Oxford operated for many years, where we would listen to business owners' varying problems, and then we would, on a case by case basis, solve those problems individually. Sometimes it was money, sometimes it was marketing, other times it was management, other times it was just basic business planning, product development, taxes, whatever it is. We would always match them with a solution that was appropriate for their business. And that worked out very, very well until the pandemic.
Aha.
Pandemic hits 2020, and we've now built a strong business where we're really niched down to focusing on mortgage companies, bankers, and attorneys. Well, pandemic hits, people are slowing down on the buying houses. People are literally not going to court because the courts are closed. So the attorneys,
Mm.
they don't want any cases or any of our help. And so it's like, ah, man, marketing and all that auxiliary fancy consulting stuff, first thing to go, everyone's saying, hey, money's tight. My reaction took me about 3 months to figure this out, but my reaction was, well, if money is the issue, why don't we sell money? That is how we got heavily into business financing at Oxford Pierpont. Now, the good thing about many business owners who can qualify is they tend to have everything together. So it's not the hardest thing in the world to get someone qualified for $1 million or more if they've already got all of their paperwork and everything in order. And for the size of businesses that Oxford deals with, that's not an unusual thing. However, all of these smaller and medium-sized businesses, it is actually really rare for them to have everything in order. Where we're talking basics like what is your business credit score? What is your personal credit score? How is your business registered? Do you have a business bank account that's got at least $10,000 per month, just revolving in the account? Are you protecting little things like your trade lines, your accounts, making sure your net terms are actually staying up to date and that you're paying your bills on time, keeping your credit card bills paid? All of these different things people just simply do not know to do when you're a small business owner or a medium-sized business and you're just still kind of staying afloat, right? Bigger businesses, they have people for that. So who's helping the smaller ones? That is why we have My Business Credit. And the two could not be more different when you're just looking at it from a branding perspective, because they do serve two completely different people. You look at my site at oxfordpierpont.com, it is very corporate, very red, very serious, very expensive. You look at My Business Credit, complete opposite. The colors are very bright and friendly and blue and happy, and we have animated videos everywhere that are explaining things. And it is obviously speaking to a completely different market, the people who need the help. So that is a quick rundown of number one,
Nice.
why there are two brands and how that actually came into being.
I like it. I like it. And what I like about what you just mentioned to us, and it really dovetails into this idea about success, right? Is that when things change, market conditions change, we can't be stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
The ostrich puts his head in the ground and says, "This is what I do." Meanwhile, he's got somebody behind him that's about to take him out. His head is in the ground. So you saw something, you saw a change in the market, and you didn't say, "I'm just going to ride this out till the pandemic's over," which, in all honesty, I thought it was going to be 2 weeks. And then, 2
same
years
here,
later,
which is why it took me 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Oh, it's going to be okay. But pivoting in business is important. And that means, especially for entrepreneurs, having that outward view is really powerful. We have to look forward or else we get stuck. So I really love that you shared your story with us as well. I want to get back to some cleanup work because I never like to miss this. In order for us to find you, right? You sell money. I want to buy some money. I guess that's right. How do I find you? Exactly. How do I find you?
So you can go to mybusinesscredit.com, and all over that site, there are a number of links that'll get you to our pre-qualification form, and that'll start you in the process. So the first thing we find out is just kind of where you're starting out, what you qualify for today, and we take it from there. So if there are any adjustments that need to be made, we start helping you from that point.
Okay.
mybusinesscredit.com.
mybusinesscredit.com. Normally I have people spell out their website, but I think we're all good with this one. MYBUSINESS, right? CREDIT.com. All right. We good. I think we got that. If our listeners are debating on how to find you, I've spelled it out. We've stated it. It's mybusinesscredit.com. Love it. Love it. Love it. I wanted to ask this question because I thought it was going to be important. And I ask most of my clients, my interviewees, this question, but especially in this case, what makes you an expert in your field?
The biggest answer I would give is just outright failure.
Okay.
That is the number one answer that I would give. Of course, there are a bunch of technical things that make me an expert, and not to mention the years of experience consulting a variety of businesses for 50 hours a week. But all of that pales in comparison to the lessons taught by just outright failure. And I think that's an important lesson for a lot of people listening to just learn. I talk to so many business owners that are just kind of waiting for everything to be ready, for the conditions to be perfect, for them to be at a state where they are not going to make any mistakes at all. And in my experience anyway, I'm not saying mine is the only experience, but as far as I can tell, it does not work that way. even if you have all of these plans on what you're going to do, market conditions change, things change. There are things that you have to constantly be able to adapt to and modify your approach to, and things that you will just fail at. And failure is not this permanent thing where once it's happened, like that's it, game over. There's no more lives, you're done. That's not really how it works. It works more like, okay, so I've learned yet another way not to do this thing. There's this
I
this
love
quote, I
that.
don't know if it's actually true or not, but there's this thing going around about Thomas Edison, about how he learned 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
Mm,
So
I think I've heard that too.
yeah, it's more about saying, hey, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, this is what my end goal is, and let me just keep on adapting and adjusting until I finally get there. So a lot of what I say and a lot of my experience just comes out of outright experience and having done it the wrong way before.
I like that. I really like that statement. You know, I do business advisory too, and I think most of the things that I've learned is from the 20 years of doing it wrong. Oh, and spending a whole lot of money with other coaches who said, Mark, you're doing it
Yeah,
wrong. And I say, let me try that. And they
yeah,
say, hey, change your mindset. And I say, let me try that. So I agree with you, right? It's
yeah.
not the book learning necessarily. It's the real road of life that makes us experts sometimes. I love that. I love that answer. So I'm going to ask you this question, if you don't mind. Um, because you sound like your whole game is tight. You can probably be an incredibly well-paid executive somewhere. What made you decide, and you touched on it a bit, but like what made you decide to say, you know what, I'm going to start my own business as opposed to just being well paid working for someone else? What made you take the leap?
Sickle cell, blind in this eye, deaf in this ear. Well, this one, now I've gotten to the point where I'm able to use my AirPods. So if I don't have this in, deep, deep in there, it sounds like a whisper. So it's not entirely deaf anymore. It's not perfectly silent anymore. But this is the one that cost me my job. So over this eye, it basically looks like I'm seeing silhouettes if I close the good one. Lost my job over that. And I talk about this a little bit in my bio, but I had a really good job and I was very comfortable. It's, the comfort zone is where your dreams go to die. And I had no reason to change or to leave and until I lost that job. And that is what forced me to start a business because I've been doing all this business development stuff for the company I work for. I was the operations development director. I literally built something new for that company like every 90 days, roughly, whether it was new departments, ERP systems, phone systems, all this like a variety of stuff. And so my immediate reaction to losing my job was I've got to come up with a lot of money. Unemployment does not pay the bills. I learned that the hard way. Did not know that
Mm,
unemployment, the way it works, is they give you like this set amount. They don't care how much you made. At the time, that set amount was $300 a week. Well, $312 a week. Let me not forget the extra $12.
okay. All right now.
And that was it. So you had basically like $1,200 a month, and that's what you're supposed to be able to live on. And of course, there are supplemental things like food stamps and all that. I needed a lot of money to replace the income that I had. So my knee-jerk reaction was I've got to basically do all the stuff I was doing for that company, but for myself now. So that is how Oxford started. That is why I have a business. I honestly thought it was going to be temporary, to be frank. I still, my mindset was still an employee mindset. I still believed in the security that a job provides, where you show up to this place for 40 hours and they give you this agreed upon amount of money and you're able to budget and pay your bills in that way. That was still my mindset. So it was a surprise to me when a year went by, 2 years went by, 3 years went by, and so on and so forth. And now I'm still in business. Of course, all blessings in disguise, but they only look like blessings when you're looking back on them. In the moment, they look like just why is this happening? This is all terrible. How am I supposed to survive? How am I supposed to pay all these things? That's kind of what it felt like in the moment. So that is the answer. That's the true answer on why I have a
That
businesses.
is the most amazing story I've ever heard. When I asked that question about taking the leap, and I've had people who were mentioning that they were sick before and they started their business and it allowed them to have freedom. But man, Rob, That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful. You know what else is powerful about your story? Like you said, I looked at it like a temporary thing, and now years later, I'm still doing it, and probably successfully.
Oh yeah.
Probably successfully. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I thought you
But
might
it
say
did
that.
not start out that way. It was ramen noodles to be clear.
Okay.
It was
Most of
ramen
us, when we
noodles
start out,
for quite a bit. Yeah,
yeah. Most
it
of us
was
start out that way.
when I yeah, it was a bit of a learning curve because so there's this misconception about having a business. Everyone always talks about the fun stuff. Oh, you get to be your own boss. You get to make all the rules, all this stuff. What they don't talk about as often is wearing all the hats, right? So you're not just developing the products, you're providing the service, you're providing the product, you're doing the accounting, you're doing the hiring, you're doing the firing, you're doing all the taxes, you're doing all this stuff, especially if you're not starting with enough money. This kind of brings me
Mm,
back to my business credit, but if you're not starting with enough money, the very start of your business can be very chaotic just because you have to do everything yourself.
that's
You
right.
are everybody in the business. And little by little, you get more profitable. You're able to bring some people on. You get a little bit of money. You're able to bring this person on. That ends up taking a workload off of you, and so on and so forth. Before you know it, you're able to grow. But if you are properly capitalized to start with, you're able to hire experts and professionals to get professional results from the very beginning. That's something a lot of people miss.
I love that, man. That's amazing. And you're right. It's when you start out, a lot of times you don't have the money to do the things that are needed to grow exponentially. And I guess that's why that stat, 90% of business owners fail, because they're undercapitalized in the first, what is it, 5 years, first year. It's so true,
Yeah, first
you
five
know.
years.
Yeah. Yeah. We have these great business ideas. And I say we, I'm talking to our entrepreneurs, they have these ideas, but to actually get it to the point where you can eat from it might not happen if you don't
Yes.
do it the right way. So I like that. I like that. But you were able to have ramen noodles until you got to the filet mignon. But yeah, some of us don't get to the
Yeah.
ramen noodles part. So I get it. I get it. Let me ask you this question. But before I ask this question, can we just take a brief break?
Yeah, sure.
Do you know what it takes to be successful as a business owner? There are 5 keys that every business owner has to master in order to be successful. How do I know these keys? Well, I used to say that I made them up, but really, I've learned these 5 keys in 2 ways. My name is Marc Adams. I'm the owner of Next Level Business Advisors and the host of the podcast, Business Stories of Success. In the podcast, we discuss success with business owners from around the world. We talk about what it means to them, how they achieve it, and the single biggest quality or personality trait that's needed in order to be successful. As a profitability and growth business advisor, I work with business owners around the country to help them increase profit and or accelerate growth. Now I say or because some business owners aren't properly positioned to accelerate growth. In those cases, we actually focus on honing in on profitability. If you are a business owner and you're excited about improving your profit or accelerating your growth, feel free to download my free ebook, Mastering the 5 Keys to Make Your Business Successful. It's found at my website, nlbusinessadvisors.com/5 keys. That's the number 5 keys. You can also subscribe to my podcast, Business Stories of Success. And if you're really ready to start accelerating your growth, feel free to schedule your free discovery call. We'll talk about where you are today, what your goals are, your challenges, your obstacles, and I can help you to hurdle some of the hurdles to your own business success. Join me at Next Level Business Advisors and schedule your appointment today. Awesome. So we're back. So I wanted to ask you,
All right.
how do you define success?
Success. This is actually I've thought about this a lot.
All right.
So to me, success is deciding what your end goal is and then getting there. That's about it. That's about as complicated as it really gets for me. The first part was deciding what success even was in the first place, and that is different for everyone. For some people, it's a certain level of comfort. For other people, it's a certain dollar amount. For other people, it's a certain level of happiness or a certain level of freedom. That definition is going to change from person to person. But I feel like actually achieving success is about just simply knowing what your end goal was and getting there. It's kind of like if you're in a car and you're driving to a destination, right? Let's say that I'm in Atlanta and I want to drive to San Francisco, 4,500 miles. Well, if I do not have something guiding me through, right, I'm not going to know where to go, detours and all. I might just be drifting, end up in New York or Canada somewhere. But I only will know that the journey is over once I've arrived at my destination. The GPS says what? You've arrived at your destination. That is success to me. So for me, I have very specific things that I want to do with my life. And when those things are done, like that is it. That is success. Now, does that mean I can't go start another journey? Of course I can. But success in the short term is me achieving those specific goals.
Okay, I like that explanation, and the analogy is perfect because you have to plot this course, and you said detours and all, right? It's not going to be that
Yep.
straight shot you thought. Awesome. So, do you consider yourself successful then?
Oh yeah, I would say so. I because I failed so much. And I can literally look back and see very clearly, like, oh yeah, this is way better than than what it used to be. Like yeah, at this point, I'm happy, happier.
Okay, I like it. I like it. So, and our listeners, I think when they key into these conversations, this is one thing that they really want to know. What are the things that you have done or are doing to make success a reality?
Um, hmm. Well, first, I would say, and I'm only half jokingly saying this, I break something at least once a week on purpose.
Okay.
You know, I'm always trying new stuff. And it's like I'm constantly, trying to evolve and grow and move everything forward. So I don't know if it's the ADD or what, but I just cannot sit still with it. So I'm constantly trying new things and adjusting and modifying the business so that it can be greater and stronger. As far as just basic success, it really comes down to a dollar amount. I have certain sales goals. I say, hey, this is what we need to be able to achieve at this point. For the other companies, I have certain targets, financial targets that we're supposed to hit. Either we did or we didn't. Assess if we did, what worked, and if we didn't, what didn't work. And then moving forward the next month or the next quarter, whatever I'm measuring in. Um, and then that's really it from a day-to-day operating perspective. Long term, there's only one thing that I want to do, and that is I want to be able to have these enormous skyscrapers. So if you can just imagine any skyscraper that you've seen in any big city, like a normal skyscraper, but top to bottom, I want this building to be an automated farm, an indoor farm, and I want to be able to give that food away, about 80% of it, to children for free. That is it. Everything else that I do is just kind of on the path towards that. Literally everything else that I'm doing. Anything outside of that goal is really just a distraction. And so I try to be very hyper aware of what counts as a distraction and what counts as being a contribution to my goal.
Wow. Wow. Okay. I
So
love it. I love it.
I guess that goes back
Man.
to knowing what success looks like what the goal is. Then you know if you're
Right.
finished. So
Right. So your skyscraper is California in your analogy.
I want to have 10 of them, but yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Each one will cost me about $1,320,000,000. So it's a
Oh,
pretty expensive goal. Yeah.
that is an expensive goal. That is something that
Yeah.
sounds like you're going to be really working hard to achieve for a little bit of time at least. Right.
Yeah,
And
I've got a
that's
long way to
philanthropic
go.
too. I mean, you're
Yeah.
talking about giving, not and that's nice. You're talking about doing something, and then you're going to have this. You said 80% is going to be given away as opposed to sold.
Hmm.
Philanthropic. That's very gracious. And that's, one thing I learned in listening to a lot of people who have built a level of success or have made money. And one of my coaches that I have, he talks about that. When you hit your financial goals, it should be also to give back, right?
Yeah.
Or else, what's the point of being selfish? And I really like that. In fact, the interview that I had with another gentleman last week, Anthony Jefferson, that's what he said. Money is good for only three things, get time, buy back time, but to give back, he mentioned that. And it's so true. Giving back is, and it's a nice inspirational thing to do. So thank you for sharing that
Yeah.
with us. You mentioned that,
For me, well,
mhm,
just one point on that.
of course.
So for me, the motivation is a little different. Um, because I feel like sometimes as business owners, we struggle to avoid the inevitable burnout because you are doing so much as a business owner. And so whatever motivation it is that you have has to be strong enough to keep you going, even
Mm,
when you are, at this point where you just kind of don't feel like it because it is so much constant pressure. I mean, you have a job, you show up to your job. Yeah, you might have to deal with like some terrible boss or some terrible coworkers, but you still get to go home. And for the most part, for the average person, the responsibility of the entire company is not on your shoulders.
correct. Right.
When you have your own business, the responsibility of not just your life, but the lives of your employees is all on your shoulders. Often, if you fail, by extension, everybody else kind of fails too. Because if you are living, everyone's like, oh, it's paycheck to paycheck. Well, your employer might be living payroll to payroll. And so you have to have these things that are keeping you motivated and driven towards higher and higher levels of success, not just for yourself, but for other people as well. For me, the thing with the buildings is it is such an extensive goal that there is no slowing down. And when I think about like, oh, I'm tired of this stuff. I just want to, go back to Thailand or something. I think about what I'm really doing and why, and that is what's able to keep me driving forward. So it's a very specific goal for a very specific set of reasons.
I like that. Cool. Very cool. And what's cool, you said you make this goal, it's a very specific goal, very lofty goal, but you still make a whole lot of mistakes along the way. And it doesn't
Yeah,
stop you. It
sometimes on
actually sounds
purpose.
like, okay, right. So tell us, in fact, what's one big mistake you've made that you wouldn't mind sharing?
Let's see, boy,
Mm.
so many to choose from. It's only Monday. Um, okay, so for example, we are trying to connect with 209 banks right now. So right now, the way that my business credit operates is we are more of a matchmaking service than anything else, where we're able to basically figure out what qualifications a person has, and then match those with the qualifications that a lender has basically stated that they want. And we use third parties for this. Well, I want to have my own bank doing the primary funding. And I also want to have my own one-to-one relationships with all of the other lenders that do the funding so that we're able to have more control over how much money we get people. And so that we're able to have more accuracy in how we get people funded. And also, I want to be able to help more people. The problem with the way that I've structured my business is there's a good reason that people don't help small businesses and medium-sized businesses as much as they should, and it's because it's not the most profitable thing.
Hmm.
If it's going to take a month, right? Let's say that someone needs some money. One person needs $100,000, one person needs $1 million. It's probably going to take the same amount of time to get both of those parties the money that they're looking for. But the payoff on the person who got $1 million is obviously, because of the sake of math, way bigger than what you
Right.
would get from the 100K person. So, for the logic on most companies that are in this industry, they say, well, hey, why would we waste time getting the small people funded when we can just focus on the bigger people?
Okay.
I've taken the opposite approach, and your question was, what mistakes have I made? That might be a little bit of a big one, but the long-term logic is fundamentally we are going to end up helping more people. It is way more work up front,
Hmm.
but it is what's going to help more people, and we just now have to do all this extra work uh, with building all these relationships and everything else to make it happen. But we can make it happen. I literally just had this conversation last week with one of the other financing guys, saying, "Hey, well, I mean, Bob, if you could just focus on the bigger clients." there's already plenty of people that do that. We're trying to help everyone else.
So how do you
That is your
figure that's a
answer.
mistake? How do you figure that's a mistake then? Because that doesn't sound like a mistake almost. But why do you think why would you say a mistake?
In the short term, we have to suffer at the start to make that happen for everybody else.
Got it. Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that's going to be a success for you because
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
your real goal is to help as opposed to just making money for yourself. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Awesome.
mean, because they don't even teach you this stuff in college. You know, no one in business school was telling you how much money you needed to keep specifically in your bank account so that the bank will be happy. The number is 10,000. How would I have known that until I got into this, or until I was talking to someone who was able to say, like, hey, this is specifically why you're going to get denied for that loan. Is this number right here? They don't tell you that.
Wow.
So it's little things like that, you know? No one tells you that you're going to end up getting denied for your loan because you put down a cell phone number instead of your business phone number, or because you put down a Gmail account instead of your actual business email address. They don't tell you that stuff. So I really want to be able to close that gap for people so that more people have a better chance at succeeding.
Wow. I like it. I like it. I'm going to ask you this question next, and it's going to talk about the inner person. What do you think is the single
Sure.
most important quality needed to be successful?
Ooh, I would say perseverance. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
perseverance.
Why perseverance? I think I know the answer, but I want to hear you explain it.
Well, this kind of goes back to the failing thing, and your expectations might be off, and there might be all these things that happen from one week to another that discourage you. And perseverance is going to be the only thing that separates the people who make it through that 5 year point, that and proper funding, and those that don't. There are so many opportunities to quit along the way. And as an entrepreneur, you know, this isn't school. It's not this thing where the teacher gave you the full lesson and then quizzed you or tested you on the lesson and then gave you a grade based on that test. It is the complete opposite. It is you get the full test, and then in the test, in those failures, is where you get the lesson. And then your job is to apply those lessons to the next test. And this repeats over and over again as long as you have the stamina to continue it. And then by the end of that, you end up in a position where it's like, oh, wow, look at that. I hit my goal. I guess I'm successful now. But most people don't make it that far. So that is why I would say perseverance is probably that defining factor for a lot of people, because if you don't have perseverance, you're not going to make it to the finish line anyway.
Wow, that's true. I like that quality. I've been doing this now. I think we're in our 50s. We've interviewed over 50 owners and we get different answers. I love to get their take on it. I think if we do a collage of all the answers, well obviously we have about 50 different personality traits or requirements or qualities, but
Yeah.
it does paint a picture, and many of them are similar. Perseverance, one of my favorite was grit, right? These things that we need to
Yeah.
be successful. You can't be a quitter, one who's easy to cut and run. And if you
Yep.
do that, you won't make it. But of course, it's awesome to have people like yourself who can help along the way so that it makes the
Yeah.
job a little bit more palatable to get to that level that you want to
Yeah.
be to. In fact, it kind of ties me into this next point, because if I'm understanding it properly, Oxford Pearpoint and even my business credit is not just about the services you offer, but it's about the mentorship. It's about the training that's going to be required. So have mentors or coaches contributed to your success?
Um, a few. One of my biggest shortcomings as a person is I am extremely antisocial. Even now, doing this podcast, we were talking before about my goal of doing 100 podcasts. That is not me. I prefer to quietly build things behind my Mac, just sitting there, just creating. And even when I'm talking, like I would have tons of meetings over the phone, hate meetings in person, just not my thing. So when it comes to mentors, I feel like you know, unintentionally, but still cheat myself out of the opportunities to meet people who could help make me more successful just because I just simply don't want to. I I I want to stay in my little bubble and build things. So yeah, there's a few mentors, not as many as there should be.
Okay. Wow. Wow. It's amazing because you say you're, the in-person thing, but you're such an eloquent communicator and you have so much that you're offering. It seems like you'd be almost the opposite. That's kind of interesting.
No, it's weird. I'm very good at what I'm good at. I'll give you a very prime example. So I used to give a lot of speeches, like business development speeches. So I'd stand up there, and I would just talk about whatever I was supposed to be talking about. Then I would always do this thing where I'd open the floor to everyone in the room and say, "Hey, ask me anything." Because you got to understand, I was doing consultations for like 50 hours a week. I was hearing almost everything that you could possibly hear. So there was very little at that point that surprised me. And so I'd be super engaging, very confident, answering everyone's questions on the fly, like just really doing my thing. I kid you not, 30 seconds after I step off the stage, it's like a different person is off of the stage than the person that was on it. I everyone's coming up to me like trying to congratulate me and say, oh wow, this that was so useful and that was such a great talk you gave and all this. And all I'm doing is like just kind of like trying to inch my way to the door so that I don't have to talk to people. It is the
Wow.
weirdest thing. I don't know if it's because I have some kind of extreme introversion, but that's just how I am. I'm very good at talking about the things that I'm good at, and then literally everything else is just interpersonal skills. I don't know. It's just not my
I am
favorite thing to
not
do.
I am not surprised, quite honestly. I think I have kind of a similar thing. If I'm talking or teaching or training, I'm great. I just love that.
Mhm.
And I enjoy it. But then when I
Yeah,
get off of a stage, yeah, I just want to sit in the corner.
yeah,
Before I get up
yeah.
on stage, people don't even know I exist. I'm sitting there quietly in my own little world. And are you going to be our speaker for the day? Maybe, but
That's how I
I
was.
don't. Yeah, yeah, it's very interesting, right? So I'm not surprised, but
Yep.
you are incredible. Even the way you paint your pictures, the word pictures that you paint are pretty fantastic. I'm going to ask you this question
Thank you.
because I'm digressing too much. What advice would you give to a new business owner? And it's awesome because you work with so many. So, what advice would
Yeah.
you give to a new business owner?
Um, so that really has a lot to do with context, because business owners are at different stages of the process. So if you're
Hmm.
just a brand new business owner, you've literally not done anything except for making the mental decision to have a business in the first place. The first bit of advice that I would give is to do proper planning and research. You know, do a feasibility study, do a SWOT analysis. I know people don't like writing business plans because it can be so lengthy and labor intensive, but do one. Do a mind map. Make sure that the business you're getting into is actually something that you should be getting into, that you have the proper expertise for, and make sure that you are bringing an element to the market that does not already exist, or if it does exist, an element to the market that is underserved. I'll use myself as an example. With my business credit, there are plenty of people who will go and talk about business credit all day long. A quick YouTube search will pull up 100 of them, right? So, what is it that we're bringing that is different? We are specifically wanting to make sure that we're helping business owners in a very cohesive and professional way understand the options that are available to them, understand very clearly the reasons that they are going to be denied, and we're genuinely trying to help them for free actually tackle the things that they're supposed to tackle so that the lenders end up giving them money. There are no like, oh, if you go buy my course and I'm gonna teach you all the stuff that's already on the internet for free for $997. No, we don't have time for that. We're genuinely trying to get people funded. So that is what we're bringing to the table, and we're doing it in an organized way so that we end up being like a Credit Karma for business owners, right? They don't have that right now. So think about what you're able to offer the market in a way that is meaningful and impactful for people that'll actually make a difference and help you stand out. Your business will be way easier from that perspective. If you're someone who is more established and you're trying to figure out, well, what do I need to do, like to continue growing? Make sure that you take business administration seriously. Okay, these are basics. Keeping up with your accounting, keeping up with your taxes, making sure that your bank account is healthy, making sure that you're actually paying attention to the relationships that you're building with vendors and credit card companies and banks in general. All that stuff matters. Making sure that you actually do go and talk to a consultant who has done these things and is able to guide you in the right direction. Because as much as I embrace, failures, failures are often unnecessary if you've talked
Mm,
to enough people. It's very
right.
rare that we are inventing something that is just so brand new that no one has ever dealt with these problems ever in all of human
Agreed.
history. No, there's almost always someone that you could have talked to, but people who have the best information sometimes they do cost a little bit more money. You need to start building those relationships before you actually need the results that you're seeking, right? By the
Wow.
time you need them, then you have an element of desperation to your business, and now your decision making is thrown off. So do all these things before you actually need the help. It's like marital counseling. Go get marital counseling before you actually have any problems in your marriage. Like preempt the problems.
Wow. I
So
like that. I
yeah,
really like that. That's some really powerful advice that you shared. And it's almost like you're talking about preparing before you start, right? Learn how to swim before you jump in the water. At least do a little bit of reading or something
yeah,
before you jump in, because once you jump in, there's a level of desperation if you're completely unprepared. I like that advice. If you were to be
yes,
able to go back
yeah.
and you started your business, I'm not going to say without planning, but you did not anticipate starting a business. If you can go back to right before you started it, what advice would you give yourself?
Mm, um, okay, I know. The advice I would have given myself is to make sure that my personal credit is as high as it can be before I start a business. That's the one thing I probably would have done differently.
Okay, now I have people saying,
Yeah.
"What? What? Why?"
Yeah. Of all the things I could possibly tell myself, knowing what I know now, that is the one because that would have sped everything else up. Um, that is the one thing, and I mean, this is an issue for people in general. There's this whole narrative on the internet that says something along the lines of, "Oh, you can go start an LLC, and you're going to be able to go buy a car with your LLC tomorrow, or go to the
Yep.
bank and get this loan," and that's all
Don't I
BS.
know?
And like, no, no one's going to go give you, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars just because you started a brand new LLC with zero track record, zero evidence of your ability to handle money. They're almost always going to go and look at your personal credit, and you need to
That's
make
right.
sure that you have a healthy credit history. Not even necessarily just a good credit score by itself, but a genuinely healthy credit history, making sure that you're not, behind on any payments. If possible, making sure that you're paying your bills in full, that you're keeping your credit utilization low. All these personal credit things that I didn't really think were that important. I mean, like you think, oh, well, 650 is enough to get by, and these people are looking for 700s, 680s at the least. And not just that, but you could have a high score and still get denied because we saw that you were a month late a year and a half ago. Like, come on. If I
Right.
had to
Yep.
tell myself one thing, it would be, yeah, really focus on having as perfect of credit as I possibly could, because that frees you up now to be able to have access to not just money, but also even people that money buys. You're able to start buying other people's time. And with that money, you're able to not only buy their time, but also their knowledge. You need to have your good credit in order. So
Wow. I like that. And like I said, I've interviewed many
it's
people.
probably
I've not
random,
heard
but
that one.
yes.
No, well, you know what? I've never
Yeah,
heard that one. And it's really good because, especially, and that's why I asked before you started your business. I'm imagining that there are people
yeah,
who listen to these conversations that I have with people, and they're trying to figure out if a business is really something they can do. Like you said, you want to be as prepared as possible. So they might listen to this and say, hey, I need to fix my credit now. I was planning to start in the summer, right? I was planning to start next fall. So
yeah,
there are things that you can do beforehand so that when you do get that LLC, you're a lot better prepared. So I like that one.
yeah,
That's one that I had never thought of either. So I appreciate
Yeah.
you sharing that.
Well, the other reason I gave that answer is because there's a time element to it as well. You can
Yes.
go and spend a few months planning. You can go meet enough people who will tell you what to do, and it's not going to take you a whole year to figure it out. But your credit, it is going to take you about 24 months. If you're really wanting it to be perfect, it's going to take you about at least 24 months of good, perfect history where no one will have anything to complain about ever. You've got to plan ahead for that. It doesn't matter what business you decided you wanted to start. If you're going to have it properly funded or, be able to get the resources that you need. Let's say you want an SBA loan, right? The SBA will happily give you money. They'll give you $500,000 tomorrow. If you can qualify for it, one of the first things they'll ask you for is your personal credit score.
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
it's you don't know what you don't know until you know it. So
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Hey, man, this was an incredible conversation. I want to thank you so much, Bob Hunter, mybusinesscredit.com. Thank you for your gems, your knowledge,
thank
your
you.
wisdom, and for even giving us some of your personal story. I really appreciate it. We look forward to
Yeah,
seeing your
hopefully
continued journey to
it
success,
helps.
man. I know it will. I
Thank
know
you
it
so
will.
much.
It's actually helped me already. So I'm looking forward to listening to this again, even because it has a lot of value. Thanks again,
Wonderful.
my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.